Right. Kale, and yeah, I've been working on Conda for the last 2 years, and today, really gonna. The title of the talk was chosen for me. It's tips and tricks, so that's what this one's going to be. And I'll take you through, I don't know, a handful of scenarios that kind of might exercise some of the edges of Conda, and show you some of the things that you might not have seen before. I want to give you an introduction about who I am, because I really haven't done this before. So yeah, I've been with Anaconda, formerly Continuum, for the last 2 years, 2 years and a few months. I haven't always been, oh, and here's my, actually this is my social media profile. I think I have more GitHub followers than Facebook friends, so that's where not really, but this is where I spend all my time. And that picture's, I'm really a happier person than that. I need to change that. It's quite a few years old. So like most, the majority, not everybody, but a lot of people on the Anaconda Distribution team aren't software engineers or aren't computer scientists by training anyway. We all come to this through the data science community. I came through have a PhD in electrical engineering and semiconductors and optics, and that's most of our migration path into this field. After grad school, I worked at Jet Propulsion Lab for a couple years, doing the same things I did in grad school, making lasers for NASA. Kind of sounds cool, but I got kind of sick of it. I got sick of being in a clean room and doing monkey work and things that should be automated, and your brain starts to wander, and then you wipe out 6 months of work with 20 seconds of mistake. So that was a little frustrating. And I was doing a lot of modeling and decided, you know what, I actually like software better. It's more predictable, I have more control, so that's what I did. Went and worked for a social media company, doing large-scale web stuff for about a year, and then worked for a biotech company in LA and decided, you know what, if I'm going to do software, I might as well live in San Francisco where it's all happening. And so I moved to San Francisco and worked for 23andMe for a couple years, almost 3 years. Started as just a back-end developer, but then really got into DevOps and kind of took over DevOps, or a portion of their DevOps for a year or so. And that's really where I got to start using Conda. We had this situation. If you were at Mahmoud's talk yesterday, he's describing a little bit of what I was experiencing too. You have developers, software engineers who want the latest and greatest of everything, and you have your colo, where your data center, where your ops team has all of their hardware and where everything's run from, and that's on CentOS 5, and your developers want to be using the latest Ubuntu, and so you got to smooth over that mismatch somehow. And Conda was actually the tool that I used to do that, and it worked really, really well. And then looked at moving to Texas to be closer to my sister in San Antonio, and this job was open with Continuum Analytics to work on Conda, and yep, here I am now. So that's the background, how I came to this. Now, how about you? Who is this talk for? It's actually going to end up being for everybody here. This talk's pretty general. We're not going to get that deep, but that talk's for tomorrow. We'll get really deep. But this one, I'm really just going to show you some cool things about Conda and how to use Conda. So pretty much everybody is welcome at this talk. And hopefully everybody gets something out of it. If I get too technical and your eyes start to glaze over, hopefully there will be something in 2 minutes that will bring you back. All right, let's get started. So let's get started with Conda. How do I install Conda? Well, you can ask Google. Oh. The slides aren't working like they're supposed to. You're supposed to be seeing. I'm going to need. This isn't a big deal right now, but I'm going to be needing. I'm going to be needing to flip back and forth between other screens. It's not a big deal right now.
So what you're going to do is.
I thought we had all this worked out. I'm sorry.
Then you'll be able to do that.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just have to end the show.
Cool. we'll get it working. I swear we had all this working, and then I guess it's a different mode. So, all right, well, how do I install Conda? Easiest way is to Google it, because that's what I always do. Actually, when I want to bootstrap Conda, I'll just Google mini Conda and go to this first link because I can never remember what all to type in there. And then pick one of these and copy it. Just copy the link. I'm only going to do this here for everybody's benefit, just to see how fast it is. It's really fast to bootstrap this. All right. So I'm going to install this in a directory right in my home directory, and I'm going to call it Conda. And this is how I bootstrap Conda. This -bfp command is magical. Take the shards. By the way, how many people use Windows? How many people's primary machine is Windows? Is it at least half? Is it more than half? It's about half. All right. This part is Unix specific. There's the Windows installer. Pretty much everything else I'm going to show. Pretty much everything else is completely cross-platform, platform agnostic. Some stuff I'll show is POSIX shell bash specific, and you can use git bash or msys2 bash or something on Windows and show and accomplish the exact same thing. So I should have been letting this run while I talked. It doesn't take too long. All right, so installing Conda, it takes 30 seconds and you're done. Not even that. And so the next thing you have to do is bootstrap Conda into your shell, because if you just type Conda, well, it'll probably work. Actually, it doesn't. I don't have Conda on path right now. All right, so you have to bootstrap Conda into your shell. And the way we always tell you to do this, or have in the past, is edit your bash configuration. It's bash profile on Mac. It's bash RC, and for most other bash shells, ZSHRC. Yeah, those are the main ones. And the way we tell you to do this is to write this little export statement, and the installer will actually do this for you if you don't do the manual install or the hands whatever install like I just showed you. But let's see. All right, this is what we usually tell you to do, and then if you reinitialize your shell, now you have the Conda command available. You should have the Conda command available. Did I type it wrong? Did anybody see what I did wrong? No bin. You gotta put the executable folder. All right. Now you have the Conda command available. That's how we've always told you to do it before, and that's probably everything you've seen before, and now's when hopefully we get to something you haven't seen before. All right. Oh, the next thing is always Conda update Conda. Always Conda update Conda. We'll let that run. Oh, right. And I'm going to be doing, let's see if it, what? There we go. Okay. I just did Conda update Conda, but actually today for you, I'm going to cheat a little bit. How do I get Python 2? That's fun. Python 2 is fine. I'm going to cheat a little bit and use the master branch that I've been working off of because it's a little bit better organized for some help and stuff like that. All right. So we have our Conda directory, and what I'm going to do is remove Conda here. This is the don't look behind the curtain thing. Actually, so this is site packages. This is where Python installs everything. I just completely removed Conda, and now I'm going to continuum Conda. This is where I have Conda saved, and I am going to make this basically. This is what Python setup.py develop does. pretty much exactly that. Now, now if I run conda info, how did I get Python 2? That's a problem. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. We're not going to use that one then. I'll bet that one works. All right, and that one is pointed to the directory I wanted, so that's what we're going to use right now. And I'm going to change my bash profile. Actually, I'll change that in a little bit. All right, so I wanted to use something that's off master. I don't know what happened in the demo. Demo gods aren't with me today, I guess. And what I wanted to show you was so most of the talk today is actually going to just point out things that are already in help. So if you look at some of the help in the app, let's look at install. There are a lot of options here. I don't know if you've ever read through all of them. They're newly organized, and this is why I'm using the master branch, because I newly organized them before they weren't even alphabetized. They were kind of just stuck in how we added them, and it had been 4 or 5 years of just adding options after options, and none of them were organized, and so you couldn't really even understand what was here. You know, in fact, until recently, it's been a couple months now, but like every couple weeks, I would learn a new flag that we supposedly had, and we did have, and we supported, and somehow got broken at some point because I didn't know it was there. There were no tests for it, but we're getting better at that. So, yeah. So most of what I'm going to show you is in help. Every command we have 9 basic commands. There's a couple aliases. So there's really not that much, but there's a lot underneath each command, and use this help. And then the other thing we're going to be talking about is configuration, and there's a nifty command for that. It's called Conda Config describe, and this shows you all of the available configuration parameters, and there's a lot. In fact, I'll bet you didn't know there were this many configuration parameters if you've never seen this before. I haven't counted them. I should sometime. There's a lot of configuration. And this is where a lot of the richness of Conda comes in, is actually digging into the configuration. Man, none of my animations work. And this is too slow to go back and forth. All right. So in Conda 4.4, we released 4.4 in December. Conda is no longer a shell function or an executable. We actually turned Conda into a shell function. And what do I mean by that? The messages now, normally we'll sometimes show messaging like your environment isn't activated or activate your environment, messages like that. Well, it turns out we switched that around on you. And the installer, the constructor installer doesn't do this yet, but our advice now, and we're going to change this on you again in 4.6 probably, and for the last time I promise, and we'll make it all easier. But our advice now is to source a file in your init. So we'll use the miniconda 1. The file that we give you is this profile.d conda.sh. We tell you to do that, and this dot means source. Thank you. Thank you for saving me in the embarrassment. All right. Now Conda's if I did this right, Conda's actually a shell function. How do I know that Conda's a shell function? There's a handy command called type that when you run it, do you guys know what which is? Figuring out how path resolution works. We actually, I want to go over this a little bit. Which finds all the or which-a finds all the executables on your path. If we look at Python, maybe, right? So I have 2 Pythons on path right now. When I type Python, I'm going to get the first one on path. I'm not going to get the second one, and that has ramifications for what gets loaded into site packages and what's available in Python. Type is one level higher. It shows you executables and shell functions. And so Conda is a shell function now. And then it's a really light wrapper, and then it just passes most things through to the Conda executable. But the important thing is Conda is a shell function because we added a new feature where Conda Activate is a command now. And no more source activate, or if you're on Windows, then use activate. But if you're on Windows in Bash shell, use source activate again. So Conda Activate is a legit command in Conda Deactivate. And so if I Conda Activate, I've got we renamed it to base. Root environment got confusing because if you put root right there, you're going to be thinking you're like sudoed in or something. And so we renamed it to base. So Conda Activate or Conda Activate base, it all works now. It works in every shell but PowerShell right now, and we're working on that. The limitation is there. Nobody knows PowerShell. If anybody helps, pull requests or wants to help, yeah, pull requests welcome. All right, so Conda is a shell command, and you can you use Conda Activate now. Conda Activate everywhere should work. PowerShell. The other thing to be aware of so this doesn't really change on Mac. On Windows, it changes a little bit with Command exe. You can activate 2 levels deep. So I wonder if I don't have a Pi2 environment. Let's figure out what environments I have. Figure out one to activate. Oh look, I have a Pi1 environment. All right, so I just activated an environment on top of my base environment. And this is consistent with how Unix has behaved before, where you put your root environment, your base environment on path, and then it's sort of half activated. Not now we're teaching you to actually activate it. But this lets you activate 2 levels deep. So I should have 3 Pythons on path now. Oh, I have 4. Right. Oh, because I had that other one too. Look, I have 4 Pythons on path. How do I figure it? So yeah. So if I've installed PyTest in not the active environment, but maybe not even a Conda environment, or yeah, not even a Conda environment, but I don't have my Conda environment active. You're going to run into path problems. People kind of complain about, or some people complain about being able to activate 2 levels deep. You need to understand how path resolution works. Really encourage you to, so that you can figure these problems out on your own, because it's not just a Conda problem. So use which-a, use type-a on Windows in command.exe. It's where, but it's not going to work here. But if I did where Python in the batch shell, it would give you the exact same thing as which-a. This is Python 1.01. Thanks, Elon. All right, deactivate that environment. So that's our Conda Activate command, and that's the story behind Conda being a shell command, is so that we don't have to have this split. I think when people saw source activate, they really shied away from using environments, or it added extra friction, because nobody understands what source means. Who actually understands what source means? There's people who should have raised their hand that probably didn't, but there's a few people. Not a lot of people understand what source means. All right, so working with packages that aren't in defaults. There's some new things I'm going to show you here. Let's see, Conda install Flask migrate. What's Flask migrate? It's a schema migration tool for Flask, and this isn't going to be in defaults. We already know. This cache is warming. All right. Not going to be in defaults. We already know that. That's why I'm using this example. Package not found. I'm sure everybody gets this all the time. We're working on this too. We have other things we're working on. But you know what? It's not in defaults. Let's see if we can find it somewhere else. The way to find it somewhere else, you can use the Anaconda command line tool to search. It's easier just to go to anaconda.org, the website, and search. And see what all channels it's in. And the reason it's easier is because it gives you this by download count. The most downloaded one is usually the one you're going to want. So look, it's in Conda Forge. Okay, I picked that example on purpose. So normally the way, I think the way we even tell you to do this is to use -c. Yeah. Here's what we tell you to do. I'm going to add the dry run flag here. Dry run just exits before anything actually happens to your environment. So what's going to happen here when we get down pulling the repo data is that everything in my environment, all those Pythons and everything, are going to switch over to Conda Forge because we have this concept of channel priority. We'll see it in a second. So I'm going to show you a couple other ways to interact with, actually now with Conda 4.4, to interact with channels that might help you sort this out a little bit. See, basically everything was defaults and everything switched over to Conda Forge because when I add -c here, it's like saying, you can add multiple -cs. It's like saying this. It's putting Conda Forge as a higher priority channel, and Conda, since Conda 4.0 respects channel priority by default. And so we switched the whole environment over to a Conda Forge environment. Switched out even Python and everything, and often in the base, always in the base environment. Even Conda itself gets switched out for the Conda Forge. By the way, thanks everybody for getting 4.5 out the door there. That happened this morning. All right. So other ways to interact with channels. If you're going to start using Conda Forge normally, you'll just do Conda Config add channels Conda Forge. That'll add Conda Forge to your channels list. Let's see, Conda Config show channels. There. So that's my channels list. That's my channel priority list. You know what? If you are normally using defaults and want to stay on defaults most of the time and use Conda Forge as a backup, it's not a problem to do Conda Config append channels Conda Forge and use Conda Forge as a backup channel defaults if that's what you want to do. Show channels. Now, if I do my dry run command, let's see. Oop. No, it's already in there. All right. Now it'll just pick up this Flask migrate package from Conda Forge. Everything else should be coming from defaults. Basically using Conda Forge as a backup to defaults. I don't think a lot of people realize this append command is there, so I want to show that. All right, yeah, Flask SQL Alchemy too. I guess we didn't have that in defaults. The other thing you can do, let's see. I'm going to remove all this configuration and go back to my dry run command. In Conda 4.4, you can specify the exact channel that you want to package from. This : syntax. Conda Forge right now won't be in my channels list, but if I use the : syntax, specify a channel, it'll end up pulling. It'll end up with this exact same result. Basically, Conda Forge sort of gets added to the channel priority or channels list, but as for the package I requested, the package I requested will absolutely come from that channel. And furthermore, it'll stay pinned to that channel until I do just Conda update or update the spec somehow. By the way, Conda update this specific spec. If I or update all. Update all means float everything. Yeah, same result. And then the other package is picked up too. So we still add Conda Forge to the priority list. It's just lower priority. Okay, so that's yeah, working with channels a little bit better. Mahmoud yesterday said that the no channel priority configuration parameter was useful. Sometimes this switching back and forth, thrashing between Conda Forge and defaults it's actually kind of a big problem. You end up chewing up disk space. Conda is really good about being conservative about disk space because we link from the package cache and we hard link, and basically your DU tool lies to you because of the extensive amount of hard linking we use. But when you have this thrashing and invalidating your package cache constantly by switching back and forth between defaults and Conda Forge, you really chew up disk space. All right. So, okay. I want to show you another. So Mike Sarahan, who's the tech lead of the Conda build project, had a big tutorial 2 days ago, about 3 hours, about building Conda packages. I want to show you a really quick way to build Conda packages. And this is only for pure Python packages. Pure Python only. If this invokes a compiler, run, because you want to use a full Conda recipe for that. But if you have something that I am going to copy this. If you have, actually, I'm going to install Conda build first. I wonder if I have it installed already. Oh, look, I already have it installed, right? Yeah. All right. You need Conda build for this. Conda Skeleton is part of Conda build. But this command, Conda Skeleton, PyPI in the package name, builds basically a templated recipe for you. And then I tacked on here a little and command that pipes that last statement into Conda build. And it's going to go ahead and build my package for me. And I did test this out ahead of time, and it did work. Well, that's fun. I did test this out ahead of time, I promise. Let's see what happened. I don't know what happened. What's that? You know what? Because I copied and pasted, and it probably got Unicode in there somewhere. Yeah, don't copy and paste again. I knew that was going to be a problem. I'll bet one of these is Unicode. Conda Skeleton, PyPI, Twilio. Actually, it did. It probably. Just do it all over again. That's probably going to complain because Twilio already exists. Yeah, copying and pasting from PowerPoint means you get Unicode all over the place, and your command line doesn't like that. Okay. All right, so the thing we want to do when you use Conda Skeleton, shouldn't take as long as it is already, but check the recipe. Let's see. Let's check it right now. Twilio. Check the recipe just once over. Make sure it squares with what's in the setup.py file. Everybody knows setup.py at this point, right? You don't? Well, that's what Conda's for, I guess. But let's see, Twilio, Python. Looking at their GitHub site. Just actually, what I'm checking for and what I usually check for is make sure the dependencies look right. Conda Skeleton gets you close. Make sure the dependencies look right, because setup.py can do all sorts of weird stuff, like this. For whatever reason, and actually I looked at this is probably wrong. Don't trust everything that's in people's setup.py files. But for whatever reason, probably wrong. There could be a really good reason for this that I'm missing. For whatever reason, if you're on Python 2.7, you need this special security feature auto requests. If not, you need PySocks, but So what I just did, I think was, I didn't do no-arch. For pure Python packages, usually if you add the no-arch Python flag, it'll get you a long ways. And I meant to do this. So adding that flag gets you this. Then when you build it, you build a no-arch package instead of a Python-specific package or a Python like a 3.6 or 3.5 or 2.7. You can use it anywhere for pure Python. Remember, Conda Skeleton for pure Python only. Let's see. Now let's do Conda build. What is a no-arch package? It means it will. When you look at Conda's channel, that's a good question. When you look at Conda's channel layout, there's what we call subders: Linux 64, Linux 32, Win32, Win64, OS X 64, and actually a bunch of others too, as we build out support for other platforms. There's also a no-arch, and no-arch is the one that's consistent and unique across all platforms. When we, by default anyway, Conda will look first for packages in the platform-specific subdir, and then if something's not there that's a match, it'll look for packages in the no-arch subdir. No-arch might be a little misnamed, but that's the way it is, and that's the way it's been for a long time. So a Python no-arch package means that you don't have to build out a pure Python library for Python 3.6 and 3.5 and 3.4 and 2.7 for Win32 and Win64 and Linux 32, and you can build it once and you're done. The problem with what I'm showing you here is, look, we've got Python specific, there's different dependencies for Python 2 versus Python 3. So in this case, what I'd do is edit the recipe a little bit and make it Python 3 specific. Let's build the Python 3 one. I'll just say Python greater, actually probably greater than equal to 3 is probably the correct way to do this. And then I'll put on a build string that indicates it's Py3. The default build string for no-arch Python would just be Py_0. I'll add on a Py3 to indicate that we're still no-arch, it's a Python 3 specific no-arch package. And then we've got the right requests and the right PySocks according to this setup.py file. And we're good to go. Let's see. We'll see if that builds or not. It doesn't really matter. So it's really not that hard to build your own Python package or pure Python Conda packages. Conda Skeleton gets it almost right most of the time for you. It's all there. How do you use them? So with Conda build, we have this special channel called local. We still advertise this as the use local flag. But there's a bunch of other ways to do it because it's just another channel. It's a channel that's local. That's why we call it local, I guess, or that's where the name came from. And it's really specific to Conda build. Let's see. This is probably close to done. Oh, it's running tests right now. Great. We'll be testing it. It'll be done soon. So if I did Conda install Twilio right off the bat without adding the local channel, it's not going to find it. Package is not found. I should have had these packages downloaded ahead of time. Yeah, we'll do it. Conda. Actually, let me open a new shell so that I have my Conda command. Let's just make sure. All right. Conda's good to go. There's no base environment active. So that's one thing about the shell. Conda as a shell command is I didn't automatically activate the base environment. There's no Conda on path right now. This is a digression. There's no Conda on path, but Conda's still a command. And that's because Conda is a shell command, and if I activate base, now Conda is actually on path. So if I Conda install Twilio, this is probably done now. Cool. Conda install Twilio. Twilio doesn't exist. I actually have to either add the use local flag. Let's try run here. So this will pick up the local package. Right. So Conda install Twilio worked that time. There's other ways to do it. This is completely equivalent to just this -c local. Same thing will happen there, or like I showed you before, the new syntax with the : that works too. You can trust me, that works. Or you can do if you want to use channels all the time, or this local channel all the time. If you're using Conda build a lot, just add it to your channels list. Conda config. Okay. Next thing I'm going to walk you through is what am I doing? Okay. So you're working on a Python code, working on a Python project, and you're used to using virtual env, but you want to use Conda. There's a few differences in the way we walk people through stuff. I want to show you actually how you can do it and how actually it's exactly the same. So we'll do this right now. I'm going to switch to my my Conda working directory. All right, this is actually the Conda code I'm using to execute everything right now. Do I have? Yep, I do. All right, I'm going to remove that devinf because that's what I'm going to create. I told you one of the difficulties with people using virtual env is they're used to environments having a location, usually in your project directory, right? They're not used to this environments having a name thing. They're a little bit different concepts. Environments actually do have locations. All Conda environments have locations, and you can use a -p flag or -- prefix to specify a location. And this is doing this command right here would be completely equivalent to just saying virtual env devinv, except we have to say yes. All right, so we're creating a Python environment right in my project directory, and it's just like using virtual env devinv bin Python. It's all there. So I guess the next thing then, you're going to want to activate your devinv, but the thing is, use Conda Activate, not source bin activate. Used to be source. It used to be completely equivalent, right? Source bin activate. That used to be. I mean, you can still do that for Conda environments, but you don't need to now, and we don't have this collision between virtual envs activate, or we still do. We'll be deprecating it. The collision between virtual envs activate and deactivate and R activate and deactivate. Conda activate's a command now. All right, so here's my dev environment, and really all I need to do now is Python setup.py develop. And remember when I did that hack of putting that PTH file in at the very beginning? Oh. I didn't put picosat in here, and it's compiling it. This is something Conda will never do on you. Conda will never invoke a compiler on you in production. We're going to stick to that. Pip, run pip install in production, and when your sysadmin gets a compiler invoked on him, he's not going to be happy. Or it just won't be there, and then your deploy will fail. All right, so we have probably, it looks like everything completed. What the point is, this using Conda exactly like virtual environments, with just a few small tweaks. Let's see. I am going to show you one more thing, and then save a few other things for tomorrow, so that there's time for questions. I want to show you Conda's configuration. In Conda 4.2, we really beefed up the power of Conda's configuration, and there is, this is annoying that okay. There's a blog post that explains a lot of this, but this configuration is beefed up especially for sysadmins, so that basically you can lock Conda down on a whole system. If you really need to and want to make things as secure as possible anyway, because you know what, we let you bootstrap. You download our installer, you can bootstrap miniconda anywhere and be running any code from anywhere. So we're trying to give you a way to at least lock that down a little bit. You've seen some of these config commands, Conda describe. There's actually a command Conda describe or Conda config write defaults. All it does is take Conda describe and write it to your Conda RC. So the format of Conda config describe, right. Deactivate. The format of Conda config describe is YAML. Conda RC is YAML. So it gives you the configuration parameter, the type of the configuration parameter. Sometimes there's aliases. If the configuration parameters like channels, let's go to the top. Channels, there will be a string splitting parameter if you're using like in all caps Conda channels as an environment variable. Any configuration parameter can be used as an environment variable. with all caps and prepending conda underscore. That's why we have the string delimiter. And then you can uncomment this, and that will be the default value. This uses all the default values, and that's the format here. And you can put this in your Conda RC and have like a pre-baked, ready to go, fully default Conda RC that then you can go and start tweaking and messing around with it and customizing. The other thing is there's several different places that Conda pulls configuration information. We obviously have our Conda RC file, but then we had before 4.2 we had a system Conda RC file, but then we had a Conda RC environment variable that switched where a Conda RC file was, but then we also had environment variables that were configuration parameters also, but then command line flags do pretty much the exact same thing as environment variables and what's in Conda RC and override that. So really just realize that all this stuff is kind of a linearized chain of configuration information, and we parse it all together at the end, take everything that's available that we can possibly find, and we have basically the configuration that the current Conda process is going to run under. That compiled down everything at the end, configurations given to you by Conda Config show. There's also a command Conda Config show sources that shows you all the individual. I buried this one. Let's see. Let me put something in Conda RC so you can see this. Conda Forge defaults. All right. It'll show you every place that Conda's picking up configuration information and help you figure out, where things are coming from, because this does get confusing. Right. We put configuration kind of all over the place. There's a whole search path of where configuration information come from. Can you guys read that? Yeah. And the idea here is that we respect operating system standard locations, including .d directories, so that you can pull configuration information from read-only locations. So if I were to put Conda RC, I'm going to do this real fast. So what I have here is kind of a recommended things at least to look at if you're wanting to lock down configuration on your system. I'm not sure I should be showing this, but there's a configuration parameter called NonAdmin Enabled. What does that do? It's true by default, enabled. If you're not an admin user, this is the normal operation. You're not UID 0, you're not root user, or you're not administrator on Windows. You can use Conda anywhere. If we turn this off, I didn't use sudo, I guess. I did use sudo. Thank you. Let's do it. It's etc Conda, not Conda RC. That was the problem. All right, non-admin enabled. Basically, it says nope, you can't do that because non-admin is enabled. And as an unprivileged user, I can't go and change that. It's read-only at that point. What I can do is override that because of the way configuration information is handled. It basically cascades up, and the closest we are to the operating process, basically CLI flags, and then environment variables, and then there's a configuration file, a Conda RC that can go in a specific active environment. Basically, the closest we are, the higher priority it has, the higher precedence it has. So if I say non-admin enabled in my user Conda RC, which is higher priority than the system one, then I can go ahead and my operational run and be just fine. Yeah, so that's not so secure. It kind of defeats the purpose, right? Well, you can actually mark something as final. Basically, kind of like CSS has this exclamation point important thing. That final flag says, okay, stop searching, stop the search path for this configuration parameter. This is what it's going to be and what it's always going to be. And there's quite a few more things to know about configuration. Read the blog post if you're interested. I want to save some time for questions. I'll be showing more stuff tomorrow. A couple things I want you to do while we're talking through questions. Actually, I can actually show the full screen now. That's really slow. We have an announcement list. It's really low volume. I think we sent 3 or 4 emails last year, but we do announce major releases through it. And a blog post or the equivalent of the blog post for the write-up or about what all the new features are. Sign up for that. It'll be helpful for you. Second thing is give us some love. We're working on our start count. It'd be nice to be ahead of pip, but we're not there yet. And then a couple other things. We have, since about Conda 4.2, we've had this canary release process. Every single Conda release, before it goes into defaults, it goes into this Conda canary channel. A feature release, which is like a 4.4 to 4.5, not a patch release. We're close to semantic versioning. We're semantic versioning from the perspective of an application. If you're using Conda as a library, we're not SymVer. The SymVer you should be looking at is the minor version if you're using it as a library. But anyway, for major feature releases, we put stuff in there a couple months ahead of time. There's a feature lockdown. Okay, a couple weeks at least. The Conda 4.4 was there for months. Use that. And help us figure out, things that might have slipped or bugs or stuff like that. And Conda 4.4 also has automatically uploaded error reports. Well, not automatic. You have to opt in. Basically, if we hit an unexpected error, we don't tell you to post it on GitHub anymore. We will offer to post. We have an endpoint and a sumo logic log aggregator service that we just post stuff to, so that we get to see those stack traces. You have to type yes to upload it, but you can opt in for this being automatic. So please do that also. It helps us. We knock bugs out really fast this way. That's all the time I have right now. There's another talk tomorrow, more of a deep dive. Probably some of the stuff I didn't get to today we'll be talking about tomorrow also. There's several other Conda talks. This isn't all of them. This is all that were like obvious from the titles. Especially tomorrow, Crystal Soja's Anaconda roadmap talk will be talking about some Conda stuff and what's on our Conda roadmap. Encourage you to go to that one too. So whatever time I have left, which I guess is none, I'll take questions and I'll stick around afterwards too. We can chat as long as you want, or tomorrow, or you can see me tonight. We can chat about whatever you want.